Hello, I'm Colleen Derrick. I'm a financial advisor with Swaggers Insurance Services. Welcome to the month of March. Our topic this month is orchestrating expectations. Expectations. Wow. Some people have said that expectations are intentionally laying the foundation for disappointment, for destruction. What a loaded comment. Does it have to be that way? I don't know. We could get into a philosophical conversation about it. I could probably argue both sides. But for our course this month, we're going to set that aside and say expectations don't have to be that way. Expectations can be utilized as a tool for positive change. Expectations can be implemented in our lives in a way that is helpful. How can we go about doing that? Because obviously, many of us have been faced with some expectations we maybe didn't even realize we had in this past month. A lot of stuff changing in our world, a lot of surprises, or not necessarily surprises, but stuff we really hoped wouldn't happen has, and it's unsettled us. 2 years ago, COVID hit, and now we're faced with a war, inflation, and dramatic shifts in culture, geopolitical maneuverings, economies on a global scale, climate change, and wherever you sit on that topic, the fact is it is impacting your life. Many of us don't know how to really navigate this well, but we have these expectations popping up that sometimes we are surprised that they're even there. Often we kind of knew they were there, we just didn't pay much attention to them. Let's be a little more intentional. So, strategies: 4 weeks, common sense, counsel, careful attention, communication. Good principles, good foundational stuff we are going to apply to the topic of orchestrating your expectations for positive outcome. This week, common sense. So applying common sense. I'm sure you have seen a meme somewhere on social media that says common sense ain't so common anymore. There is some truth to that. We can't necessarily change that in the world. And honestly, odds are good that your idea of common sense and mine are not the same anyway. What can we do? We can orchestrate our expectations by applying common sense to our own world, to our own relationships, to our own finances, to our own job, career environments and settings, to our own households. Proverbs 16:22 says that good sense is a fountain of life to him who has it, but the instruction of fools is folly. I would like good sense because I would like a fountain of life. I think that sounds really positive and good. I don't like the words fools and folly. So good sense is a fountain of life. What does that even mean? Expectations should be reasonable. My interpretation is that expectations should be reasonable. Good sense, reasonable. When we dream big. Remember last month we talked about hope, breeding dreams, bringing vision, and then progress. Dream big. Expectations, that's a different matter. Applying common sense means recognizing the things we cannot change. Dream big, but have your expectations be reasonable, founded in reason. Why is this important? Well, maintaining motivation and executing plans requires us to succeed at micro goals along the way. Now, small successes build progress, which execute vision. Last month's course, right? We know this. We learned this. We hopefully applied this. I am hoping you didn't just go through last month's course saying, oh, that's interesting. I hope you actually applied it to your world and tried it out. But we know that maintaining motivation and executing plans requires us to succeed at the micro goals along the way. Small successes build progress, which executes vision. How does this incorporate? Well, if we don't have reasonable expectations, we are not going to maintain motivation because we're not going to be successful at executing plans. Common sense. It's logic. So I use FP Canada's expertise and posted assumption rules. When I'm working with you and we're projecting out 20, 30 years, really hard for us to know what's going to be relevant. So we utilize software fed with reliable, reasonable data. Why? Because they're reasonable. They're realistic. They're grounded in reason. Do you want to realize that you have to work in retirement because I used impressive, big, amazing rates that were exciting to project your future income? No, you don't. You want to dream big. You want me to have reasonable expectations when projecting future values. You want reasonable expectations that will deliver. You want those grounded in reason. You want a reasonable expectation of meeting the goals you set. Common sense, right? Proverbs 27:12 says, "The prudent sees danger and hides himself, but the simple go on and suffer for it." Well, I don't like suffering. Not my favorite thing. I don't mind suffering for some really impressive gain, but all in all, I would really opt to avoid the suffering part. The prudent sees danger and hides himself. Yeah, okay, I can get in with that. I can hide myself. What does this mean? Appropriate expectations mean engaging with reality instead of being oblivious. Laws of physics and human nature are at work all around us in every situation. Acknowledge this. Acknowledge this. The prudent sees danger. To see danger, what you have to do, you have to have your eyes open and be looking, and hides himself. So eyes open, looking, taking in the information of the reality around you, and then acting on that information, applying it, appropriate expectations. Cause and effect. Why is this important? Because cause and effect can change our lives. How it changes our lives depends on whether we're paying attention to it or not. If I go around with my eyes closed, I can't see anything. Anything could be creeping up behind me, and I have no idea. I need to be having my eyes open, maybe looking around. And if I see a fire over there, which unfortunately in our neighborhood we had a week and a half ago, right? That way, a house burned down. The people thankfully were safe because they saw the danger and they hid from it. They left the burning home and hid in safety. Cause and effect affects our lives. If we have appropriate expectations, we are going to do appropriate things, expecting appropriate things. Make sense? Common sense? Maybe. Investments have a potential for loss. If I don't expect this possibility, I will use investments inappropriately and probably end up in big trouble. And we actually see a lot of this happening in our world right now. If I have appropriate expectations and remember what investing truly is, and remember that there has to be a potential for loss, or it's not an investment, it's then a savings venture. If I remember this, and if I have appropriate expectations, then I can implement an appropriate strategy and enjoy the profits. Common sense, appropriate expectations. Let's live in reality. Let's have our eyes open. Let's be aware. Let's react appropriately. Applying common sense number 3. O simple ones, learn prudence. O fools, learn sense. Proverbs 8:5. Learn prudence. Learn sense. Simple people, not simple, but simple, and fools. I can be a fool. I can be pretty simple. Sometimes I like to live in a very simple world where I forget all the other stuff that's out there. But you know what? I need to engage with reality. I need to learn prudence, and I need to learn sense. What does this even mean? Well, prudence is not fear. Doesn't mean to be going around scared all the time, right? We are building a framework for your money to release you from fear and greed. We want to usher in contentment and peace so that we can live in love. It is the quality of being prudent, cautiousness, taking due and diligent care. This is recognizing the potential hindrances and accounting for them. Again, common sense. We keep anchoring back in being aware of reality and living for it and with it. Why is this important? Because caution and good sense keep us out of many situations that could culminate in unfortunate events. Prudence prompts us to be wise in our positioning. Wow. How much of a difference does that make? Anybody with a teenager, you know how much a difference being wise in our positioning makes, because our teenagers tend to position themselves unwisely. And they're like, well, why did this happen? And you're like, well, because you were in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong people, buddy. That was totally foreseeable. You didn't have a prudent expectation. Having prudent expectations doesn't mean that you can't have a glass half full perspective. You certainly can. I expect wonderful things to occur because I've taken steps to position for success, i.e., disability insurance will ensure that my mortgage, my home, I can stay in my home because it's going to get paid if I get sick and can't work. So bad stuff happens. That's the world around us. Prudence says that I have caution because I'm aware of reality and I account for that. So I want to position myself in a place where, my income could be disrupted. And you know what? It's going to be okay. I'm still going to be able to stay in my home and feed my family because I'm still going to have money coming in because of a disability insurance policy that's going to make sure that happens. Risk management. Risk management is the common sense application of prudent expectations. Hopefully you find some value in that. Hopefully you find some areas where you can apply common sense in your own world. Hopefully you take a look at your expectations and become a little more aware of them and become a little more interactive with them and a little more intentional in cultivating and orchestrating your expectations so that common sense prevails and shelters you and your family. Join us next week for our follow-up, week number 2 on orchestrating expectations.